What is up? We are live. Everybody, welcome into Heat Ratio episode 129. I'm your host, Tony Tiggs Ocotillo, joined by Coach Dave Dixon and Pittsburgh John Coker and the unknown Mikey Goose. What's up, Mike? Been a long time, buddy. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. We got such a ton of interesting topics to talk about tonight. Listen, we are going to go 4 for 4 tonight. Actually, no, we're going to go 3 for 3 tonight because we're not even going to get fancy in tonight because we have so much to talk about when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, the Philadelphia Sixers, the Philadelphia Phillies. We're going to talk some Marcus Hayes, introduction. Talked to Marcus today, was going to join us tonight, but obviously he is a busy man. But he will be on with me one-on-one. We'll be able to replay that on podcast later. But talking about the Phillies, whose fault was it? 1-8 to finish the season. What's going on with JT? Who is going to be the next Sixers coach? And I'm sure our boy A-Bomb will be checking in very, very shortly to show what is going on. But guys, we have to start right with the Philadelphia Eagles. And it took me, I'm going to be honest, I did no Jigsaw's judgment on Monday. I couldn't talk about it. I still had to try to figure out what the hell the issue is with the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, to go a 23-23 tie to the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that we should have destroyed, a team that looked like shouldn't even have been in our league. I don't even know what to think anymore. And I am fine. Listen, I know the episode's called When Did the Eagles Pull the Plug on Carson Wentz? It's kind of a question, but for me, it's a statement because I was ready in the first quarter. And I've been one of the biggest Carson advocates. You guys know that. How many times have I've backed Carson Wentz, whether it be on socials, whether it be on this show? I've had it. He is not the guy. Mike, You're the guest tonight, so I want to go to you first. And I know you're very passionate, and you're a huge bleed green kind of guy. So what has this shown you after the first 3 games of the season? What am I wrong for what I'm thinking here?
I wouldn't say you're wrong, but I think all of us, being true Eagles fans that we are used to being shocked, I think, in this year of 2020, right? Since it's been so crazy. Nobody expected Carson Wentz to completely melt down like this. So I think we're all a little bit shell-shocked. And you brought up an interesting point. You just said that you couldn't even discuss this, I mean, you had a regular round of discussion, but you couldn't even do it. You couldn't even, as a sports journalist, discuss this. And what I found through friends and family, it's all the same thing. Everybody is emotionally shocked about what's going on here. And, people like us, man, we're diehard Eagles fans, right? We bleed green. We, all that cliche stuff. That's true, right? We all know this. But if you want to try to drill down to the root cause of the problem, what I see from Carson Wentz is somebody that makes a play that no one else in the world can make and then makes 5 plays that look like he's a rookie or even worse than a rookie. He looks like he's in college or he doesn't know what's going on. So, I mean, it's really, really difficult to say. But what's worse and even more concerning is Peterson has absolutely no confidence in him, and he doesn't seem to even understand how to motivate Carson or even how to drive the ship. So, and now on top of all of that, you have injury upon injury upon injury upon injury. So what's happening here? Carson is trying. Sometimes he's trying to make the big play. He's trying to go for it all. He was trying to do too much, I think, in the first.
Lead them to a victory. I mean, the whole day, man, it was the perfect storm for Carson Wentz. Dave, can he ever get over this hump? or are we seeing the complete regression and never see any progress from my man Carson Wentz?
I mean, he just doesn't seem comfortable out there. With that being said, I know no one wants to hear this stuff, but I'll go back to many things. But his injuries, he just doesn't seem right. Things are not right. As far as blaming what's going on, I believe that there's so much inside turmoil that's going on right now that Doug Peterson did not want these assistant coaches. Go back to the press conference where he was like, "Oh yeah, they'll be back." The quarterback and receivers coach, they'll be back, and then they were fired the next day. So there are things going on inside, and I said this last week, Tony. What's going on inside the Eagles front office is what you're getting out on the field. You're getting a hodgepodge of things that just don't look right and look like there's no rhyme or reason what's going on. They look very disheveled and unorganized. That's the same thing that's going on in their front office, right? And the result of that is terrible play, inconsistent play. You go back to their draft picks for the last 3 years. Please, somebody name me 3-4 starters from the last 3 years of drafting for the Philadelphia Eagles. Where are the draft picks that they picked this year? One of them started 2 games, Rager, and then where are the other kids that they drafted this year? They're hurt. They're not playing. They're suited up, but they're gadget guys in our quarterback. I just believe that the Eagles, unfortunately for us as fans, the Eagles are going to be an issue or have problems, for the next couple years. They have so many holes to fill, so many question marks. And here's I said it last time. I'm going to say it again. People are used to blaming Doug, Howie, this and that. I'm going to go with Jeffrey Lurie. This is your ship, Jeffrey. You're allowing Howie to do his thing. And guess what? Howie helped ruin this stuff. As much as he helped pick a Super Bowl contender and winner and all that stuff, it looks like that was just lightning in a bottle right now.
So let me ask you, Dave, before I get to John, and I want to ask you as a youth sports coach, as a guy who knows all about motivational speaking, knows how to get guys out of funks. If you have this situation with Carson Wentz, a player that you know has all this out in the world, but just looks completely lost, what do you do in this situation? Are you afraid that his psyche is that fragile if you do bench him for a guy like Jalen Hurts? Or do you just keep trying to hope that through practice and progress, and constant repetition that he's able to work his way out of this funk? What do you do as a coach here?
I personally would never bench Carson Wentz in this situation. I just wouldn't. I don't think that he needs to be benched. And I know, listen, people will tell you that McNabb was benched and this and that, but McNabb was benched after how many years, right? Carson, I just wouldn't bench him. I don't think he's that type of player. I think that, and that's another thing. You talked about being around types of players. Some players deserve to be benched. You see their mental anguish or how they handle themselves on the field. And you guys know, you've been around enough players that you guys know that, you know what, that kid needs an attitude adjustment. And the attitude adjustment is sit the bench. There's other players that you keep playing and you hope and you cross your fingers that they can play through things, right? And I think Carson is one of those guys. Now, a question was posed to me this week after the game. If by some strange reason the Eagles produced the number 1 draft pick this year, right?
It looks like that's going to happen.
Yeah, here we go.
Are you going to take – the question was posed to me. Are you going to take Trevor Lawrence? You know what my answer was, right? What do you think it was?
The answer I would say would be yes.
100% yes. Yes, I am taking Trevor Lawrence. I am going to get a fresh new quarterback in here, and I'm going to say, Carson, pack your bags. We'll thank you for having us, and we'll see you later.
Okay, but what about if he somehow turns it around and leads the team to 8-8 and has a pretty strong season for the rest of the year? Do you still do that? Do you still make that move during draft day?
If he's the number one, if you
Let's
have
just
the
say
number one pick,
okay. Let's just say he doesn't go 8-8. Let's just say that we get the number one pick, but he plays really good, but the defense falls apart. We wind up losing, but the problem on the team really isn't Carson Wentz. He's had a good, solid year. Do you still make that choice?
Okay, so Mike, great question. If he acts like and plays like what we think he's capable of, then the answer to me would be no. Okay. It was posed to me after 3 games, right, and he doesn't look like Carson Wentz anymore, right? He looks like there's injuries that are bothering him. It looks like there's some underlying things that we just can't put our fingertip on, and he doesn't look like he's able to be successful.
Right.
So at this juncture, I'm saying you would take that kid. He's not injured, right? Trevor Lawrence, first of all, the kid's a flat-out stud. He's young, healthy, and you can get him on a rookie contract. So you can lose Carson's contract somehow, some way, possibly in a trade, and then you would gain more collateral that way, and you would get a young, fresh stud. I'm sorry.
And you just have Jalen Hurts for what?
Nothing.
Exactly, because they didn't work him into the offense at all. Yeah. So when you see him running around out there as a decoy or doing whatever he was doing, which is nothing, okay, you know what that tells me? That tells me they didn't even plan on working him into the offense. He's there as a backup because Carson's constantly hurt, and now all of a sudden he's got head games. That pick was so telling for me. And I want to stick my head in the sand and could not believe, just like you and everybody else, when they made that pick, right, Tone? I mean, oof.
I think that was my wait, what?
Right.
What? Jalen Hurts and John, before I get to you, what Mike's saying about Jalen Hurts, I have to ask this because my thought is, am I the only guy here that is watching the evolution of guys like Kyler Murray, the evolution of guys like, and listen, I know Jalen Hurts is not Patrick Mahomes. I know he's not Lamar Jackson. Okay, I know he's not Russell Wilson. But when you look at the kind of quarterback, Josh Allen, you look at the kind of quarterback that's actually starting to take over the NFL. It's not your, Steve McNair just got to run. This is the mobile style of game, the college style of offense, especially Cliff Kingsbury is running in Arizona. Right. Doesn't that just intrigue you guys a little bit to say, you know what? I wonder if Jalen Hurts can play this style of game. And I wonder if they're sitting there thinking and they're saying, wow. You know what? Just like Miami's doing with Brian Flores, sitting on the sideline, watching Fitzpatrick, but saying to himself, I got this boy Tua right here that I'm ready to unleash. And I just keep thinking that the more and more this goes on, that there's no way in my mind, if Jalen Hurts gets on that field, that he doesn't produce. Because he doesn't even have to throw a friggin' ball. Like, he doesn't. Like, he could throw a little 2-yard bubble screen and still be effective because he's going to get the defense on their toes.
Especially in his offense. Right?
What's that, Mike?
Especially in Doug Peterson's offense. Exactly.
And that's why I was going away from it. I didn't want to face the fact, but now I'm all in. And now I'm all in about thinking, you know what? I want to see Hurts. I want to see him in the game. I'm ready. I think he should have been put in that game after the first quarter. Because, listen, and John, it's going to go right to you after this, but this is only game 3, and I understand. But when you look, you're 0-2. Okay, the percentage of teams making the playoffs at 0-3 is like 7.2%. Okay, it rarely ever happens, and I don't want to hear about this division being bad. I don't want to hear about, well, we could get in at 7. Who the hell wants to get in at 7-9? That's my thing. Then you're just forcing the issue, and you know you're going to lose anyway. So my point is, this was a must-win game. Doug should have put all his cards in and say, you know what? This ain't happening. I need to at least say I gave everything and not let this ship be burned. John, I know you have dealt with in Pittsburgh. I always make Pittsburgh references only because you dealt with a guy named Slash at Cordell Stewart, who wasn't the best pocket passer in the world. He wasn't the best accurate passer in the world, but he was able to use his talents to be productive. I know you're shaking your head, but what do you see in this quarterback situation right now?
Dude, look, we're 15 minutes in, and I'm chiming in. So what I'm gonna try to make my point.
Sorry, John, you're not gonna leave now, are you? Sorry.
No. I'm gonna make my points. I'm gonna try to be as brief as I can and touch on everything you guys talked about. So pardon me if I look down at my notes because there were so many juicy tidbits that I just had to touch on. So number one, you talk about Jalen Hurts. And you see what Lamar Jackson does. You see him get shut down by the Chiefs. Granted, Super Bowl champs, but it's what I've been saying all along about Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have the passing game. Passing game is real easy when you're running 200 yards, you know what I mean? And everything's opening up because they're putting 9 in the box. All right, so Lamar Jackson was exposed, and we may touch on that later, in terms of the running game didn't work, and when you need the passing game, it wasn't there. So I'm going to go with that in terms of Jalen Hurts. And I think a little bit Jalen Hurts, I look at Dwayne Haskins, and can you run an offense in the NFL? All right, look, I'm not questioning talent. I'm not questioning rushability. Can you consistently move an NFL offense? All right, put that to rest. We talk about the Eagles draft and how poor it's been over many years. And, you know, is it the weapons for Carson? Maybe not. But what about bringing on Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson? These are the guys. So you have a early round draft pick in your quarterback. And these, I mean, Alshon Jeffrey wasn't even healthy in Chicago. All right, he had one 16-game season that he put up good numbers. We signed him to a big contract, and he can't stay on the field. You know Deshaun Jackson can't stay on the field. He ain't done it in 5 years. So these are your two guys. This is your number one and number two you're going with.
That's a great
so
point.
I understand draft picks, absolutely, but at the same time, were those really the right decisions at wide receiver for your early round draft pick quarterback? All right. Doug Peterson, trust in Carson Wentz. Look, this is almost like I see this relationship as like the 50-year-old dad or 55-year-old dad and his son that is no longer 18 and is becoming 25. And it's like, well, you kind of got to figure it out yourself. Like, you're 18, you're guiding him, you're doing this, you're trying to do it, and then you see him kind of come into himself as a man, and not as a man in terms of this, but as a football player. And you know, getting accustomed, you're not just a rookie, you're not getting accustomed to the lifestyle. And I'm not saying extravagant lifestyle, like you're running an NFL team. Like you are the quarterback. That is the face of the team. So, and look, he has all the great background, knows the words to say. We've seen that he can do this. But yeah, I compare Wentz to right now, he's Ricky Bobby. And I've been thinking about this for days.
Wow.
I kid you not.
Wow.
It's like
Bobby.
Dad, go fast again. And you see him in there the first time out in the car. Why is everybody going so fast? And he's going like 20 miles an hour. Carson Wentz must have went to make the pass and pulled back like 80 times in that game.
Yeah.
He is not trusting his arm. So we can talk about injuries. All right. Like, okay, there's a Carson Palmer ACL injury, but this isn't even the ACL. If he was worried about them leg injuries, he wouldn't be doing the stuff that he's doing. He wouldn't be sitting in the pocket. His problem is he can't pull the trigger. So you can blame it on the weapons.
Yeah.
But he is a number 2 pick, and he is a franchise quarterback, which he showed he was for 2 abbreviated seasons. Dude, he has not thrown lasers like Aaron Rodgers. He ain't throwing lasers. Like, you got to put it in that window. You're young. Like, I get Drew Brees, like, just dropping bombs out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, putting in them little lofty passes. Dude, when was the last time you saw Carson Wentz in the pocket step into a throw and zip it in?
His mechanics are horrible. Horrible.
Well, wait. He did throw. Wait a minute. He did throw that nice over-the-shoulder catch to Ertz, and we were like, I was like, whoa, where did this come from? Right? All of a sudden, it was just one.
I think I went through. I went through. Sorry, I hope I didn't.
No.
But I went through every point.
Now, listen, before you go on, because you mentioned something about what's going on Carson Wentz. So I want to play this clip because Brian Westbrook today just went all in, dude. He just went all in. And this is telling, right? This is telling. So this is a quick 20-second clip, but listen to what Brian has to say on the Adam Lefkoe show when he actually asked about Carson Wentz. This is really telling, guys.
2017 season. What we've seen from him recently has been a quarterback that has no confidence, has no clue. And I'll scream it to my I can't scream anymore. He doesn't know how to read defenses. He has no clue what a defense is giving him. He has literally no clue what they're doing on the other side of the ball.
You can see it in his eyes. Like what?
He's guessing. He's got all the talent in the world, and he's guessing.
He said he has no clue. Mm-hmm. Like, this isn't Angelo Cataldi. This isn't Mike Missinelli. This isn't any of these guys. This isn't Sal Palantonio. Right? This Brian Westbrook played the game. Right? Played the game. He knows. He said he doesn't have a clue. Mike, you hear that right away. I mean, what's that make you think?
The guy's throwing in the triple coverage. He's throwing directly at linebackers. He's not seeing them. He's getting balls batted down left and right. I mean, and then, like you said, that pass, that over-the-shoulder pass to Ertz, then he goes and he makes that, and you're like, man, there's probably about 5 guys in the world that can throw a pass like that or to make that type of – then he goes and does these things. So the thing is, we can say he's inconsistent. We can say his mechanics are off. We can say this. We could say that. We could say Jason Peters is turnstile getting – trucked every 5 seconds. I mean, we can go on and on. He's got a steering wheel on his chest. We can blame everybody else, right? But at the end of the day, Carson looks rattled. He looks like he's forgotten how to read defenses. He looks like he's forgotten how to play football. And you know what? I would imagine that these defensive coordinators, that these looks that they're throwing him are confusing him even more. So you had mentioned something earlier in our conversation. You had said something about regression. You know, I think regression is a really strong word. Right. And it's very easy for us to say, oh, he's regressed. Oh, Nick Foles is going off now in Chicago and he just replaced Trubisky, which Trubisky's a bum and it's Foles. We get all that, but we all have soft spots for Foles because, he won us a Super Bowl. Right. But point is this, the regression, I think, is the key of what you said. And it certainly looks like that's happening right now. It's not like he's just having a couple of bad games. He's just really messing up in every aspect of the game. And it just keeps getting worse. Now, he did a couple of really good things that did not lose the game for the Eagles this week, which was refreshing to see. But Peterson not going for the win, regardless of what it was, I think it would have showed him some confidence. But the fact that he didn't, you know what? Dave brought up earlier, I wouldn't bench Wentz for Hurts. Okay, you don't want to do that. And look, Coach Dave, you would know that, a lot more about confidence in coaching players than I would. But what kind of a signal does it send when your coach punts the ball and goes for a tie? Like, Wentz walks back into that locker room thinking they don't have any faith in me. He has to be thinking that regardless if it's true or not. I thought that was so telling.
Well,
Dude,
I'll be – go ahead, John.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, say it.
My bad. I'll be real quick. How are you 0-2 against the Bengals, and you say, you know what, instead of going on 4th and 12 or going for a 64-yard field goal, I'm going to punt the ball. Because you know what, I want to go 0-2-1. Give me the 5% chance to get a win.
I mean, it's a loss. A tie's a loss anyway, really. I mean, statistically, when you break it down, what's the big deal? Why do that? So did he send him a message by not showing him any confidence?
Yeah.
Or then you put him out there and you're going to say, okay, well, we're going to give you some options to throw. We're going to give you J.J. Arcega-Whiteside.
Oh,
really?
Arcega.
Really?
Oh, what's up, Andrew? Checking in, eating. Yeah, listen, Andrew, I know political debates on, and I know everybody's probably watching the debate, but you know what? I can't watch any more politics. So, but it is pure comedy. I'm sure it is.
Oh, I'm sure. I couldn't even
imagine. We got to be funnier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Nothing's more comedic than the Philadelphia Eagles right now. So.
Well, you're right, Dave. You're right. And here you go, real fast. Before we're gonna get to Marcus Hayes because he has some tremendous quotes.
Gold.
And Mike, you mentioned this regression. You weren't on the show last week. I want you to watch this, and these guys watch it. I think it's hilarious. I want to watch it again.
Sure.
It's a 1 minute clip, and it's Doug. And when he's asked about Carson's regret, and just watch his face and listen to this. It is priceless.
Doug, in Carson's 5th year in the league and 5th year working with you, why are you seeing his production and his performance regress?
Progress?
Regress.
Oh, regress.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did cut out there a second. It's a good question.
It's a good question. But did you see when he thought he said progress?
Yeah.
Like
Shocked.
Oh,
yes.
Listen. I said
Playoffs?
this. I said this last week too. Coaching quarterbacks, his particular position. He's had 3 quarterback coaches in the last 4 years. Right?
Yeah.
His offensive coordinator or whatever. Frank Reich's gone. A new guy came in. What was his name? Grow. Grow.
Mike Grow.
Mike Grow.
Another stiff.
And now you have Marty Morningweg, who we ran out of here a long time ago. Right? So listen, I know I say this very simple word of inconsistent, but it keeps going back to what the office is doing for this kid. And I'll never forget in NFL Films.
You're right.
I'll never forget. It was Doug Peterson on NFL Films, and I forget what particular team he was playing, but it was early on in Carson's career, and he said, they were talking about Carson, him and the opposing coach, and Doug says, you know what, this kid's a great one. We just can't ruin him. Well, guess what they're doing? They are ruining him by the people that they put. John made a great point. Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson.
Yes.
Really? Our offensive line at this point, it was okay to bring back. If I would be better suited for you to tell me that we are going to try and find an heir apparent left tackle this year, that would be a turnstile. The same way of paying Jason Peters what he asked to be paid to play left tackle again. I'm sorry, guys. That's just my opinion because you need to rebuild. Kelsey's not going to be here next year. Peters is going to be gone. You might as well start over and try and find somebody that can do the job.
Okay, so why it's a good point. Why take a quarterback then? For what reason? You just laid down the entire foundation. Is because Howie doesn't know how to draft?
Yes, he does not. Why exactly? Why would you take when you have a quarterback that you just paid all that money to? Why would you pay for a quarterback in the 2nd round? And when you can go pick up Teddy Bridgewater or one of these other guys to back up Carson Wentz this year. Cam Newton was out there forever.
Do you think they knew, Tony?
Yes.
Do you think Howie and Doug said? Oh, well, you said this during your last show, so you do. You said Howie and Doug, they knew, right? And they're doing this to protect their job because they knew they were too far deep with Wentz, right?
I don't think Doug wanted a quarterback. I do not think Doug Peterson wanted a quarterback. I would bet whatever amount of money I could afford to bet that Doug Peterson wanted a wide receiver, a big one, or an offensive lineman in round 1 or round 2 to take care of that kid.
Well, he did take a receiver. He stunk.
A real receiver, Tony. My apologies.
All I want to say is when you want to talk about a backup to Wentz, you don't get a backup in the draft. You want a backup quarterback, you get someone with experience. If you're drafting a guy, it's either it's a flyer. It's like in 3 years a contract runs out. You don't want to pay the guy money, and Aaron Rodgers with a Favre or something.
Right.
If it's that yes, a project. It's
why draft him?
Or a Mason Rudolph with an older Ben Roethlisberger. There's some reason. But to have that young franchise quarterback that you just paid, and then you go and draft that and not give him, it's beyond me.
He's got no. And now you're going to say, "Oh, Carson." I saw somebody wrote something about maybe Hurts is making him not feel confident. He's got to look over his shoulder. I mean, you have you're the franchise quarterback, and you have all of this pressure on you right now. You're playing in the NFC East. You got a lot to prove. You're walking past the statue of Nick Foles that won the freaking Super Bowl for the Eagles every day on your way to work. You got everything to prove. You got a huge contract. I mean, everybody is gunning for you because it's Philly, and that's just what we do. And you're worried about Jalen Hurts taking your job? Like, how fragile is this guy? I'm just done with the whole Wentz thing. I'm finished.
That's the scare. Listen, this is, you guys are making all valid points, and Dave, to your to what you say about Doug Peterson and about the decisions. I mean, that's the biggest thing, and we're gonna get into again, missing Eagles coach Doug Peterson by Marcus Hayes. Marcus Hayes, good friend of the show. We have had him on before. He was going to come on again. I'm going to have him on this week. I told him I would quote his article. So everybody listening to this on playback and watching this live, go to theinquirer.com, go to this article. Marcus Hayes, I know me, Mikey Googs, and one of my favorite writers, one of Mike's favorite, brings the heat, man. Just, typical Heat ratio fashion. He does hold nothing back. And he said some telling things in this article. No doubt. Number one, they asked, has Doug lost the team? And he says, no, the team has lost Doug Peterson. He has no faith in his players, no confidence, and why should he? Right? And then he goes on to say, Peterson cannot even trust Wentz to execute the entire playbook. Guys, I have to stay on this for a second. This was one of the most irritating things I've ever seen. Dave, I'll go right to you because you're right your head. I mean, what it Dave, just go ahead, Dave. Tell me what this is.
I'm going to tell you what I think it is, and I believe that Peterson is telling all of us that it is an extreme power struggle between Howie Roseman and himself and the players. Zach Ertz went after Howie Roseman, right? Doug Peterson was not happy. I go back to this. Not happy when those two guys were fired. I guarantee he was not happy with the draft picks that happened this year. Doug Peterson is telling the media and his team that he is not happy what's going on at the front office. That is just my opinion. I told you this before. I said it out loud. Doug, with the right recipes or the right ingredients, can create a proper team and play the right way. He is not given the right ingredients, and he's telling you.
But what about the playbook here? I mean, are we like what is
so
this?
His assistant coaches are responsible to go through. The quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator is responsible to go through the playbook and to make sure that the kid and the players are ready to execute. That is the responsibility of the coaching staff. Those assistant coaches, not the head coach. The head coach dictates, this is what your priority is today. This is how we're going to do it. They're not accomplishing that. That is, to me, that is an exact, like a poke in the eye to Morningweg and to the other guy, whoever the other guy, the quarterback coach is, and Howie.
Shocks me that we're still even discussing Marty Morningweg. How is Marty Morningweg relevant? Isn't this the guy that called that timeout? What did he do with it? Why is he still around, this guy? And why is he the quarterback coach of Carson Wentz? You know what? Dave might be on to something here. I never even thought about this.
Yeah, well, he's not the quarterback coach. He's the offensive whatever.
Oh, sorry, the offensive. Yeah, isn't he like the offensive assistant or something?
Yeah,
he's still in Carson's ear.
Dude,
yes, he is.
Marty Morningweg has to have like an only me account somewhere.
Something
that's like secret or something that I'm telling you, because it is absolutely insane that he is still in this league. What has he done?
What has he done? That's the good point. I keep forgetting he's around, and I like he has. There's something there.
He holds something on somebody, man. He holds something. He has to. If that's the case, Eric Mangini should still be in the freaking league. I mean, come on. I mean, think about it. Right.
The man genius. I haven't heard that in a while. Or that name.
For real, this is ridiculous. But here, I got it. And John, this is one of my favorite statements. Okay, Marcus says he's asking about Doug. And this goes right to you guys talked about, the 4th and 12. What do you do? Who is this pathetic, beaten, bewildered man wearing Chip Kelly's old visor? Real Doug Peterson's playbook was a Picasso canvas, innovative and thrilling and conventional. And he's saying, what the hell happened to Doug Peterson. And again, Dave mentioned the power struggle, right? Mike mentions things about him being lost. John, what the hell is going on? Listen, I envy you because I love Mike Tomlin. I've always liked Mike Tomlin. I've talked about him in nauseum on this show. You don't have to worry about this kind of thing. But what the hell is going on here? Where did Doug go? Why is this conservative Doug? John, you're muted, brother. Oh, John.
My bad. I'm going to say this first. Every single NFL team and their fan base, look, Tomlin makes his blows too. You watch your team, that's your hometown team. He makes his blows. What the hell is he doing? And it's backfired a lot. And I'm saying he was on the hot seat 2-3 years ago. So before we say that Tomlin's the greatest, but look, everybody has their time. And Dougie P had his time, and he was calling a good game. And some years it works, and some years it doesn't. But I mean, it still goes back to the fact when it's going good, like it's just going good, like it's the right decisions. But I'm still going back with Carson Wentz. I think Doug has a plan, and Carson is just not doing it. You have a plan. You want to do this on first down and second down. And if Carson screws it up on second down when they're doing a play action and somehow holds on to the ball and gets a freaking 7-yard loss, what do you do when it's 3rd and 13? I mean, that's been a bulk of this season. Or, he's just not. So I don't even know. I feel that it's Carson still not making the decisions and putting the offense in a hole, which makes Doug Peterson have a tough time. Doug Peterson's not going in there like, oh, it's first down. All right, let me start thinking about my 3rd and 13 play, So I really think it's just the way that these games have gone, and it's all due to Carson Wentz's ineffectiveness.
Yeah, but think about that's a great point. I mean, but Marcus goes back and he had mentioned, and it sounds like, John, you're a Peterson fan, right? I mean, we all are. His playbook, very innovative. I mean, Marcus even called it a Picasso, right? I mean, it's a really interesting way of looking at the playbook because Peterson was creating these unbelievable plays, and he's been doing it for years. And for him to say, well, for us to even know that Carson all of a sudden cannot be trusted to execute the playbook, what does that say, right? I mean, think about the Super Bowl year. Think about the culture. Culture in an organization and culture in the locker room are great. When things are going great, just like John said, things are great. Peterson couldn't make one wrong decision when everything was rolling, right? I mean, anything he did worked. But when it goes the other way, and a couple of those decisions actually don't turn out to be the right ones based on the personnel and the executing, and then the finger pointing starts, and then the stuff starts, and then the fighting, and now it's all coming out. And it looks like there's some front office interference, as Dave pointed out, because it certainly makes it look like that, right? I mean, everything that we've heard so far certainly sounds like that. The front office may be overreaching. Who knows what Jeffrey Lurie's doing? I mean, he's got a $3-4 billion franchise. You think he's just sitting back, drinking Mai Tais and not saying anything? Of course, he's going to say something. I mean, this is his team, so he's going to be saying things. Who knows? There was a report that came out, and I don't know if it was Marcus. Or maybe it was Bleeding Green, but somebody was saying that there could be a relationship between Wentz and Lurie, that it's stronger than what people think, and maybe he's just bypassing Peterson. There's all kinds of crazy theories that are coming out right now. Who knows how many of them are true? But it looks like that the entire organization's culture is starting to crack.
And that's a good point. And what do you do if you're Jeffrey Lurie? And you spent a ton of money, right? I mean, let's face it, you spent a ton of money invested in this team, and they're not producing. And this is my whole point. Let's look at this, guys. And we're talking, before we move on to another stumbling franchise in the Philadelphia Phillies, let's look at the next 3 games. I mean, you're talking about San Francisco with Nick Mullins. You got to be kidding me that Nick Mullins threw for 360 freaking yards. That's insane, okay? But, right, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Terrible.
But they're still the Niners, right? They're still the Niners. And then we're talking Pittsburgh, black and gold, John. And then we're talking Baltimore. whether or not they were exposed on Monday night against the Andy Reid's dynasty that he's building, and we'll get to that shortly. But this is inevitable that this team could very well be 0-5-1 to start the first 6 games. Just basically say 0-6. If that's the case, and you're Jeffrey Lurie, do you think about getting rid of the coach? Or do you ride it out? Because I think eventually that has to start to come out. Because if all 3 of you guys, or especially 2 of you guys, have said about some power struggle you feel it's going on within the front office, if that's the case, and you're the owner, billion-dollar franchise, and a pandemic ain't making no friggin' revenue, right? And you're paying out all this money, and, right? And think about it. And you're 0-6. Don't you have to start thinking, wait a minute, something's not right here. This team, that's why I keep thinking that Doug's going to go to Hurt soon. I really do. Because I think he's going to have to save his job. I do. I think he's going to have to save his job because think about it, boys. If they go, it's John, I'll come right to you. But think about it. If they go 0-6, right? If they go 0-6 with Carson at the helm, or Jalen Hurts at the helm, he has a little more story to tell with Jalen Hurts. At least he can say, listen, hey, Jeff, we had tons of injuries. Carson was lost. I had to do what I had to do, put Jalen in there. We had an abbreviated offseason. We didn't have a chance to run a lot of plays with him as the number 1 guy. We're trying to best here. At least he can save himself. He can't save himself with Carson Wentz. He can't. John, talk to me.
No, all it is, when you're a losing NFL team, everybody's placing the blame somewhere else, period. Everybody, especially head coaches, what are they doing? They're saving their job. You know what I mean? What's the front office doing? They're saving their job with draft picks, or you know what I mean? Whatever they hired that they're either going one way or another with. It's everybody's out for themselves. I mean, in all reality. I mean, that's what this business is. Okay? So, look, I don't know what Doug Peterson's going to do. Obviously, somebody has to go if they don't perform this year, especially coming off the Super Bowl, the whole Foles thing. I would say Dougie P's the one that's going to go. You give Wentz what he has. I mean, that long-term contract is that's a tough nut to swallow.
But there's a way out. There's a way out of that contract.
What is the way out?
I think they should take the way out and kick it down Route 76 down to Western PA. Because I will tell you what, every time that I hear Philadelphia bash Wentz, which I'm bashing him too, he is not doing what he has done. He has had abbreviated seasons. I don't know what the hell's going on in Philly. I don't think anybody officially knows who's pulling strings, who's doing what. All we know is the end product sucks. And I will tell you, I will take Wentz.
Well, how about this?
That's it.
Listen, speaking of the end product sucks. Okay, listen. We've gone 40 minutes on the Eagles. Okay,
and we go 4 hours.
Right,
rightfully so.
You're right, and they deserve the time. Okay,
hold on, Tony.
Go ahead, Go ahead.
Do that,
please. So you're going to tell me we have 3 people responsible, or 3 people that could have potentially be removed, and you're going to go with Doug, Wentz, and Howie, right? Are they the 3 guys?
I know. Dave wants to talk about
Howie goes first. Howie first.
Thank you, Mike.
He goes first.
I thought
he sucks. He's horrible. I'm tired of Howie Roseman.
Doug Peterson wrote his ticket to any team in the NFL right now. He could be an offensive coordinator. If Jeffrey Lurie wants to fire Doug Peterson, he'll go coach with Frank Reich tomorrow or Andy
in 2
Reid.
seconds.
That doesn't matter to Doug Peterson. Of course, he wants to run his own ship. He will get that opportunity again because he won a Super Bowl. The reason why things aren't working right is because Howie Roseman has meddled his hands into all this stuff. And guess what? Chip Kelly was right to put him in the corner office and say, just work the numbers for me, kid. You know what? I'm going to be responsible for taking all the draft picks. I'm going to be responsible for getting players in here. You go work the numbers and stay in the corner.
We know he's the best bean counter because he learned off of Joe Banner. Howie Roseman was an intern. Howie Roseman is amazing at salary cap. He's amazing at unbelievable trades, right? He's great. And if you know, we're supposed to be putting people in the position for their strengths, right? And not for their weaknesses. What is he doing drafting players? I mean, we should just do a whole show on his drafts. We really should. Because his draft picks are absolutely horrifying. Horrifying.
The last 3 years, how many starters are on this team in the last 3 years, Mikey? I don't know the answer to that.
Maybe Goddard and Sanders. I mean, who else? Who else has he drafted that starts? Well, Josh Sweat, maybe. There's a couple.
Yeah.
I mean,
a starter.
The whole 2017
been Diller.
trash.
That draft is complete garbage. That draft, garbage.
You know, and on the flip side here, and Dave, I agree with you, and I agree with Mike. I'm getting rid of Howie Roseman, or I'm at least doing exactly what Chip Kelly did. I put Baby in the corner, telling her to sit there, be quiet, do your contracts, and
count
shut
the beans.
Up. Right?
Go back to
Exactly.
the beans.
That's it. So what hurts even more, okay, is watching what we seen last night. Okay. And the reason why it hurts even more is because we're watching the Kansas City Chiefs team that is homegrown. That's how you friggin' draft. Look at that team. Patrick Mahomes drafted. Kelsey drafted. Tyreek Hill drafted. CEH drafted. McCall Hardman drafted. Chris Jones drafted. Breland drafted, who comes back. Everybody's been freaking drafted. That's how you draft a team. That's how you build a team in the NFL. And you know what? Hats off to Andy Reid. Good for you, dude. I don't hate Andy Reid. He's built a dynasty out there. That team is unstoppable. And it makes us see what we're doing even worse. And it's crazy. But let me ask you, what's that?
He brought in Spagnuolo.
Again, I love Spags as a defensive coordinator, right?
Absolutely.
We've talked about this before. Guys who are really good coordinators, but suck ass as head coaches, right? He was terrible in St. Louis. Terrible. But great as a D coordinator, right? Mike Martz was terrible as a head coach. Tremendous as an offensive coordinator. Romeo Crennel, Wade Phillips, Ray Rhodes. Go down to freaking Greg Williams. Go down the list. These guys, they get their chains, they get their cup of coffee, they get paid, they come back. That's exactly what Spags is doing. And you're right, Dave. He has a tremendous staff. Eric Bieniemy should be a head coach today. Eric Bieniemy, if you guys watch that game, that dude was getting people's ass on the sideline. He was taking no prisoners, man. That's what I want to see as a head coach.
It's a hard job having a head coach. And you know what? When you think about what it takes to lead a group of young men, 57 of them, that are all multimillionaires, that have basically had their butt kissed their entire life from grade school all the way into high school, and to get them all together on a team and get them to coherently follow the same message. Do you have any that is an unbelievable, hard, difficult, almost impossible job. And that's why you see these retreads all the time. That's why you see guys like, these, you look at them, you're like, how does this guy have a job? It's because there's not that many people that could do that. It's a really, really hard thing to do. And it goes back to what you just said, Tone, that some of these coordinators are amazing doing that job, and they go back to that because that's their strength. But you can't blame them for getting paid and going for their shot, because they set themselves up, and that's what they do. But they always go back to their comfort zone because that's what they're good at.
Well, and look, Mikey, you got it right on time. But at the same time, it's getting those guys in your house, the guys that are open to that want to be leaders. It's just like, it's big. It's bigger than me. It's not just me going out there and doing one-handed catches pregame and coming up with 3 catches for 30 yards a week. Yeah. All right. I don't know. I could spell out a name, but I'm saying it's getting those guys that are coming in here working hard. Like, yes, you have to push those buttons, but you also have to get those guys, that mentality in your locker room. Not just like a couple guys. I mean, top to bottom, you got to bring in character guys that want to do that want to look, the money, you win Super Bowls and you have a dominant, I don't care if you're on the offensive line and you dominate, you're on a defensive line, you don't let up passing yards, your cornerbacks. The money comes when you succeed as a unit and you win games. You win games, you get money. And you got to get guys with that mentality, not the guy that's coming out that thinks, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Oh, I'm a hot draft pick. I'm going to do it all myself and go out and do your own thing. And you leave the other 9, 8, whatever guys hanging, especially on the field. But it's a whole locker room. It's a whole mentality. You're 100% on time.
Our boy Mike checking in, talking about Marvin Lewis is another name. Tremendous defensive coordinator, right?
I'll take him in a second.
I'll tell you what about Marv, though. I think Marv got screwed in Cincinnati. That franchise gave him nothing, dude. The Browns are terrible owners out there. They give no support to the head coach. He couldn't get anybody. They didn't spend any money. So I think he did what he could. I mean, got Carrot Top as running around as his quarterback for how many years? I mean, what are you going to do? Right?
They did draft pretty well, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, listen, I'll tell you what, man. Cincinnati right now. Cincinnati's the truth, man. I'm telling you, 2 years from now, Cincinnati's going to be competing in the playoffs. I mean, let's look at that team. Have you guys looked at that offensive system they're building out there? Have you seen that? T. Higgins is a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, John, you better be careful out there in Pittsburgh, bro. Cincinnati is coming, man. They are coming for you.
T. Higgins is as good as Joe Burrow will make him. And Joe Burrow, I tell you what, looks like
he can ball,
perennial top 10 quarterback, NFL fantasy, call it what you want. He will be a top 10 quarterback for a decade.
The Eagles hit him all day.
Yep.
All day. Hit him hard and hit him often. Schwartz was bringing it. Say whatever you want about that defense. Say whatever you want about the Jim Schwartz. I can't stand that guy. But they brought the heat and they hit Burrow hard. So I think you're right, John. I mean, he's going to be a player.
Dave's been very adamant about and a big advocate of Joe Burrow. He has, and I'll tell you, man, I'm with Dave. And I'm with Mike. I'm with you guys. I watched this, and I started Joe Burrow this week in fantasy, and John knows I was hyping him up. I think he is a week-to-week starter now. I do, and I look at that team. You guys, this brings us back. And before we get off of football, go right to baseball in a minute, but brings us back to what you guys were talking about with Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey. Look what they're giving Joe Burrow out there in Cincinnati, right? Look what, he has a receiving core of A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, John Ross, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon in the backfield, Giovanni Bernard as, their third down back who can basically be a 1-2-3 back as well. I mean, they're giving him every opportunity to succeed. And Zach Taylor is one hell of a play caller. People forget that. He's from that McVay school of offensive play calling. So that is one big thing for me when we talk about Joe Burrow, something that you guys are right. Carson Wentz does not have. And will that make a difference? Only time will tell, right? Only time will tell. Wait, Dave, would you take Antonio Pierce as defensive coordinator? He's the CEO. He's the coordinator at ASU. That's right for you, Coach Dave.
I mean, I don't know all that much about Antonio Pierce. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I will look him up, Trevor, after this, but I hate Schwartz, so I'll say yes to you.
How did I know that was coming?
I was waiting for that. I don't care if it's Santa Claus. It doesn't matter. 100%. But listen, we gotta, we gotta go from one franchise to the next. And listen, 53 minutes on the Eagles. Amazing, deservingly so. Like Mike said, we could spend 4 weeks on the Eagles, and we're going to continue that on this show. But again, another franchise is in disarray. We got to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies. And finishing 1-9 is ridiculous. I have no idea I don't know who to blame. But one other thing I want to say is they are really blundering this JT Realmuto situation. I mean, we have talked about this forever about how you can't make a trade your number one prospect, not knowing that you have the best catcher in baseball, that you will need to re-sign him, right? We've talked about this. Is all hope lost with JT as a Phillies catcher? I'll tell you what, this is embarrassing because listen to this. Bryce Harper comes out, and if this is anything on Matt Klentak, if anybody's listening, this is Bryce Harper when asked about JT.
Should be back next year, Klentak.
I mean, I'm not an owner, so I'm glad I don't have to make those decisions. JT Realmuto needs to be our catcher next year. Plain and simple. I mean, he's the best catcher in baseball. He's the best hitting catcher in baseball. Our guys love to throw to him. If that's Wheeler, if that's Nola, if that's anybody. I mean, anybody that is the best at their position, hitting and fielding, needs to be signed, and that is JT Realmuto. And I don't think that should even be a question or anything, because there's going to be 2 teams or 3 teams in the NL East that are going to go after that guy. And if that happens, I mean, that's going to be tough to swallow for us.
Right there, man. That's right. It says, and here's the thing, right? When you paid Bryce Harper $300+ million, when you got him to sign a 13-year deal with the Philadelphia Phillies from the Washington Nationals, you said to him, Bryce, we are committing to you and to competitive baseball for the next 13 years. How in God's name do you let something like this happen? And I'll tell you what, this is 100%. And that first clip was on Klentak when he asked, I'm glad I don't have to be the owner, because they asked him, that was Jim Salisbury, great credentialed beat reporter for the Philadelphia Phillies, asking, yo, what are we doing with Klentak? Because he's still here, and it sounds like he's going to be here. But this is a major sum about John. I'm going to come right to you because I haven't gone to you first yet this show, and you're writing down notes on papers, and you got to get everything. So I want to get your voice out first here. But JT, and he said, there's a couple teams in the division, one of them being the Mets. I've been saying this from day one, that if they do not re-sign JT, that he is going to be a Met. And that cannot happen. That will set our franchise back 5 friggin' years, okay? That's what it's going to do. So, John, is it inevitable that we have lost JT Realmuto? What do you think?
I don't know if it's inevitable, but, I mean, Bryce Harper said everything that I had to say in reality. I mean,
but should he have to say it?
Well, no, he shouldn't. No, it should have been done. I mean, we talked about that for how long? It should have been done. Look, you cannot put a price tag on. Look, catchers, that's why so many catchers have a job in Major League Baseball, because they know how to call a game. They know how to work with pitchers. They know how to ultimately get the wins out of the team. You have a good catcher or bad catcher. I don't think the major population realizes how much a catcher means to like the pitching staff. And the game calling. The game calling isn't done by the pitching staff. It's not done by the coach. The catcher is calling this game and doing his homework. And I mean, for what Realmuto does, and I mean, I would say there's probably, I don't want to name names. I would say there's probably 5 to 7, maybe max 10, like catchers that can really call a good game. And let alone, he blows every catcher out of the water in offensive statistics and throwing runners out and everything that he brings it to the table. His age. I mean, yeah, when you have him in your grips, I'm saying, like, yeah, guys come out free agents, but just because like a Realmuto becomes a free agent doesn't mean that there's 30 teams that are clamoring over him. You already have him. It's a very simple reach out to lock this guy up to do basically 3 aspects of the game, which is pitching, hitting, and throwing runners out. We said it. He's such an important piece. Are they going to retain him? I don't know, because they pussed around so long. I don't know, but do they need to? Yes. You spend that money on Harper, and then you're going to do this with Realmuto. It makes no sense. If you give me 3 players off the Phillies, give me Nola, Realmuto, and Harper, and I'll build a team.
I agree completely. I mean, it should never come to this point. This is 100% on management. This is on Andy McPhail. This is on Matt Klentak, who are both 2 cronies and 2 clowns that don't deserve jobs in Major League Baseball. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
What
happened to stupid money?
Right,
what
happened to stupid money?
Stupid money.
Yeah. But they gave stupid money out. They gave some stupid money out. They gave money to Harper, and they gave money to the other guy, the pitch Wheeler. They gave money. Middleton was writing checks, and maybe there's just no return on investment on checks. And maybe he's like, this team, they don't know what's going on, and maybe like, all right, look, I'll dish out a little bit more money when I'm getting a little bit of a better return. But what's concerning, the most concerning part about all this, and I agree exactly with both what John and Tony said, but the concerning part is when you got Bryce Harper coming out saying this needs to happen. Now, look, I like that he's showing some flex. It's Philly. You're the highest paid player. I mean, you're supposed to be the team leader. I like that he showed flex, but I don't remember the last time I've ever seen any player in Philadelphia come out and demand to management that somebody else be signed. That used to be a big no-no. But maybe I've been disconnected, but I don't ever remember that happening before.
I don't remember it either. I mean, we're talking about Bryce Harper holding signs up and wearing T-shirts that says "Sign JT" in batting practice. I mean, let's think about it. This has been an all-out promotional tour for JT Realmuto. Go ahead, John. What's up?
No, and I want to hear Dave's take on this, but at the same time, no, dude, you don't think any of this conversation came up when Harper signed his contract? That long multi-$100 million contract as the direction of the team. So then, like, he tells you, like, you say, oh, we're going to bring it in. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Mm-hmm. And then you see what he feels is the most important piece. And if he's the $300 million man and he sees this as the most important piece, he needs to speak his mind. I mean, truthfully, he is practically part owners of the Phillies at this stage of the game, because what he means to the team in terms of contract. You might not like what he says, then you ship him and his contract somewhere else. But like, you're stuck with him.
Look, it looks like he's been sold a little bit of a bill of goods. It looks like they're tightening up on the checkbook. And if you're going to say you're going to throw out stupid money and then not throw out stupid money, or maybe throw out a half a bit of stupid money, what kind of message does that send? You can't have Bryce Harper going around saying that stuff to management. You're talking about culture. You're talking about the Eagles culture. Look at the culture of the Phillies right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I'm curious to hear what Coach Dave has to say against this, with his baseball experience. But, baseball is not my favorite sport, but I pay attention to train wrecks, apparently. So I got to be dialed into what's happening with the Phillies.
Yeah.
What do you think,
Dave?
Well, I'll tell you.
Seconds. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead, John. You said 10 seconds.
I don't think Wheeler was stupid money. That's the only point that I want to make. I didn't think that was stupid money, but
that was reasonable. That was reasonable money for a number two.
Right.
You're right.
Is stupid money spending any contract on the player that we know JT is? And go ahead, Dave.
No. Well, John, you're absolutely right. JT deserves stupid money for what he produces, and all the stuff that Tony talked about, his age and everything that fits that category. That's what this guy is, and what this offense was when Reese started to pick up, right? And JT was in the lineup healthy and Bryce in there. They won 9 out of 10 games and they looked like the offense that we thought they could be.
Yeah.
So this goes back to management. This goes back to bad management. Klentak and what's the other idiot's name again? McPhail, both from the Orioles.
The other idiot's name.
Both from the Orioles organization, who hasn't won. They've what did they win? Shit, nothing.
Yeah, we told
nothing.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yes. So now we just put our team's management and our salaries and everything, contracts, in those two guys' hands. This should have been done after the second week of the season. Restructured deal, signed, sealed, delivered. Move on. Next. This shouldn't be an issue going into the offseason. This should have already been taken care of. There should not be questions of him going to the Washington Nationals, who would be my pick. If the Washington Nationals get him with that pitching staff and him on that team, wow.
Well, how about this? Maybe he wants to go there.
I would too.
Maybe he wants to go there.
Yeah, I would too. If you're going to question paying me a certain amount of money, I'm going to go pick the team that looks like the closest chance to get back to the World Series or win, and I'm going to pick that pitching staff. I am not going anywhere near New York unless I'm in pinstripes in the Yankees color.
You can't blame him. You cannot blame him for wanting to make that move.
No. So I go back to management, and I kudos to Bryce Harper for calling it like it is.
Oh yeah.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking not signing this guy and getting this done? They're out of their minds. And guess what? For all the diehard Phillies fans, they're all pissed off because of the same thing. This is simple. They have the money to do it. Do it.
Maybe Middleton's maybe he's just tightening up with the checkbook, you know?
He
But
could
why?
be, and maybe here's a funny thing. Think about this. And I just thought about this, right? Maybe do you think because they know it sure seems like we're not going to have fans and stands for at least another 6 to 8 months, maybe a year.
Yeah.
Right? Do they think
a year?
Right, exactly. And maybe they think, you know what? It's not going to hurt us in attendance. It's not going to hurt. You know, we can't say, people ain't going to come to the ballpark. It is what it is. We already know people ain't coming anyway. We already know that our ticket sales are going to decline. We already know our season ticket holders are getting refunds. So maybe this is all set up in their stupid, schemy little mind. Between those two idiots, Matt Klentak, go back to Anaheim because that's who they were. Right? They sucked. They did nothing. Right,
Nothing.
Dave, you make it right. Dave makes it. Andy McPhail, Boston. Dave, how many times have we mentioned on the show about Mike Arbuckle? How many times have we talked about Mike Arbuckle getting shipped to Kansas City and they go win a World friggin' Series because he knows how to build a goddamn franchise. He knows how to scout. We got, again, I'm going to say the name. We got Benny friggin' Looper. Benny Looper. Anybody ever hear Benny Looper? No. He was from Baltimore. They sucked. Right, so we're going to take our scouting department and give it to Baltimore. Like you're out of your mind. No wonder we got set back 10 years.
Complete waste. The only good thing that came out of Baltimore was that amazing bratwurst sandwich they have at Camden Yards. Okay,
and that stadium, and that
stadium's amazing. That sandwich is top notch, like number one sandwich. Seriously, but that's the only thing that came out of there. That's it.
Exactly.
Amazing.
John,
Amazing sandwich.
John, I know you're a fan. Go ahead, but after your comment, I want you to give me 5 guys in the last 10 years that came out of Baltimore. 5 players that you drafted in your fantasy team that came out of Baltimore.
In baseball, football?
Yes, in baseball. In baseball.
Okay.
Exactly.
I wanted to go back to the broad conversation.
Yeah. Let's get on that.
No. When we had the episode, it was probably episode 10.
Yes.
Episode 10 or something. We went through the weirdest, craziest foods at stadiums.
Yeah.
I loved it. And I think we need to revisit that. And
that was your idea, John. That was a good one, buddy.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah. There was the crickets in Seattle, and
there was something from Kansas City that was really good.
I can't think of what it was. But John, you had a bunch of good ideas. You had the we're gonna have to get Mikey Goose back to do the draft one we did because that was a tremendous episode.
Yes.
I don't know, Mike. I don't know if you listened to that, but John came up with an idea probably about 6 months ago that we did a draft, and what we did was we did an 8 selection draft in all 4 sports, and we picked from a hat on who took round 1, who got the first pick in each one, and we snaked it, and we had to pick the best players in baseball of all time, the best in basketball, the best, and we came up with our top 8, and it was interesting. So that was John. John comes up with some good ideas.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I would love to participate.
Yeah, it was really.
I think
it was telling
too, and let me know because I'd be more.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
10% of what I spew out of my mouth is good. The other 90% is completely irrelevant.
It's only when the fireball's flowing.
Yeah. Well,
Mikey Valero, he calls it out. Manny, wasn't Manny Baltimore? Yes, he was.
Manny was Baltimore.
Very
right?
good.
Yeah, right. Manny Baltimore.
Yeah, we forgot.
Maybe do you give Chris Davis before he really, shit the bed? Right.
Davis, yes.
I mean, right.
Yes.
I don't know. Then after what? Matt Waiters? Are we going Matt Waiters? Eric Bedard? I mean, let's think about
you're digging deep,
right?
I
Exactly.
don't know about Bedard.
Markakis was solid.
It was Adam Jones.
Adam Jones.
And wasn't it Adam Jones?
Adam Jones in baseball, yeah. Adam Jones, yeah. He was okay.
He had him and
Nick
David
Markakis was
Markakis good.
Yeah.
Markakis was good. Still not like a stud though.
No.
Look at Mikey V checks in. Mike Musina. That's a good one right there.
Oh yeah.
Hall of Famer right there. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. I'll give Mike Musina. That's a good one. Cal Ripken Jr. Obviously, right? I mean, that's the obvious choice.
Dude, wait. Who am I going with?
Jeremy
who? Oh,
Jonathan
Scope. No, who was the shortstop that was actually like 4 years older than he actually was? Miguel Tejada. Dude.
Tejada, yeah.
Tejada was top 5. He was a top 5 draft pick.
Yeah,
overall.
he was.
I mean,
he excelled in Oakland, though. He excelled in Oakland. That's where he had his MVP years, I think.
No,
right?
he was no different than Machado, starting out there for the first few years, and then,
That's true. That's true. But it just shows you that Baltimore sucks. It just right. I mean,
it depends on how far back you go. If you go far back, they had some really good players, but the players of lately, there are a few.
Brooks Robinson. I mean, you want to go Eddie Murray, right?
Murray for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about way back, right?
Scott McGregor. There's a few of them.
What you just saying, John?
What was that?
Eddie Murray.
Eddie Murray. Yeah, Eddie Murray.
Eddie Murray. Eddie Murray was the truth, man. They don't even keep anyone if they are good, Mike says. Yeah, well, they definitely didn't keep Tejada, and they definitely didn't keep Jones. They definitely didn't keep Markakis.
They didn't keep Rafael Palmeiro. He was part of the juicing era. He was juiced out of his mind.
Yeah, he was definitely part of the juice era. He's definitely part of the juice era. Absolutely.
Dude, and I'll tell you what, I think that juice leaked into his mustache, too.
Oh.
He had the Raleigh Fingers mustache.
Yeah, he
with
did.
the wax on the other side.
Did. Yes, he did.
That was a great era in baseball, by the way. The juice era. It was the best.
See, and that's the thing. People forget it. I don't care what anybody says. That I would watch that every day of the week, man.
I wanted the pitchers taking steroids too. Let's see if they can throw 120. I mean,
they were. What was that one guy from the Dodgers? He had like his neck was out like this. He was just throwing gas.
Eric
Gagne. Just throwing gas, juice powered gas, sponsored by the Cream and the Clear.
Android. What was it? What was the cream that McGuire was using?
It was the stuff Bonds was getting from that guy down in the guy from A-Rod. He was supplying A-Rod and Bonds.
Brian Anderson, was that his name, or I forget.
Yeah, I forget, but that was a big scandal. But that guy was selling to everybody.
I mean, you think about some of the guys that were complete stiffs. I mean, it starts with Brady Anderson, right? But
Mike Lieberthal.
He was terrible.
Terrible.
That whole 93 team, dude. Pete Incaviglia.
Icky wasn't on. Icky was eating pizza.
Oh, stop. Icky. Are you kidding me? It looked like he was carrying a kendo stick as a bat. Dude, he was so big. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, he wasn't big, though. He wasn't big like cut big. He was big like he was pumping roids and pumping iron and throwing like 10 Jim's cheesesteaks down after a game and smoking. They were smoking cigarettes in the dugout. They were smoking Marlboro Reds in the dugout. Yeah. They were a mess. That team was great.
Fergosi was the ultimate mess.
The mess. He was smoking cigarettes in the dugout, too. Remember they caught him?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was. Him and Leland.
He smokes in the dugout.
Like that.
He was grabbing heaters.
Yeah.
The funniest was like the whole decade. It was just like you said, the clear, and like it's steroids. Oh, he's
everybody
on the clear.
Knew. Everybody knew.
Yeah, it's like the clear.
Still a great era, man.
Yeah.
Still great. Mike had a good episode right here. Mikey V checking in the best players on the worst teams list. So we'll chalk that off for next week. The best players on the worst team. I like that. I like that.
That is a great suggestion there, Mikey. Excellent.
Yeah. You're gonna have to join us for
Tony,
that. What's up?
That might be our next draft, dude.
Yeah, I like that. Yes, we'll do it into a draft.
For the best players on the worst teams.
Yeah.
There we go.
I like that. I'm gonna have to do a lot of research. For
Barry Sanders is the number one pick, I guess. Right?
Barry,
poor guy.
Poor Barry.
Poor guy.
Wayne Fontenot, Scott Mitchell.
Wayne Fontenot.
Wow.
Wayne Fontenot years. They had Rodney Pete and Scott Mitchell. Mm-hmm. Seriously. I mean,
Rodney they had Herman Moore.
Moore. Yes. Yeah. Good pull, Dave. Herman Moore.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the other receiver they had too.
They had a Perriman.
They had a Perriman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who was the linebacker? Spielman.
Linebacker.
Right? Spielman. Linebacker Spielman.
He was another juice head. He was juiced out of his mind.
yes.
He was a maniac, that guy.
Him and Brian Bosworth.
Maniacs.
We're all roided up on this show.
We should definitely do an all Roy draft then. I mean, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's just get the cream and the clear.
I would love to do an all Roy draft.
Yeah,
I would love to do an all Roy draft.
You know what we should do? And then get them actually on the field and see how roided up they get and angry they get. Come on,
if we're talking about anger, I must be on a ton of steroids because I can't control myself. But,
Tony Mandrich.
Oh my God, Todd Maravich.
Tony Mandrich was the lineman that was drafted for the Green Bay Packers. They called him the Incredible Bulk.
Really?
He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
The Incredible Bulk.
Yep.
Wow, look at that. They've pulled
That's a good one. I don't remember him.
Me neither.
Tony Mandrich was a beast, dude. He had they showed him shopping in Sports Illustrated. He had 2 shopping carts filled with food. And I'm telling you, this dude he was just a monster. He was a monster.
Tone, were you trying to say Todd Marinovich?
Yeah,
yes, he was. That's who yes, Todd Marinovich.
I thought I heard that squeak out. Todd Marinovich.
Remember that? Yeah. And the only reason, here's the thing, you know why I remember that name? Because he was the #1 draft pick, the #1 upper deck NFL football card in that set because Brett Favre was #2.
That's how you remember.
And every pack I got a friggin' Marinovich card sucked ass. I want the Brett Favre card. I got all these Todd M picks.
You probably got 50 Todd Marinovich.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Just give me the Brett Favre.
I gotta say, Alex Van Poppel.
Oh, there's another name.
Alex Van Poppel with the A's, the new best pitcher ever in the history. Who did nothing.
Wait, no, Todd Van Poppel. It was Todd Van Poppel.
I just remember Van Poppel.
Yeah, it was Todd Van Poppel.
Todd Van Poppel. Yeah, so if you were smart when you got that card like that year, everybody wants to save them rookie cards. Like you could have sold that thing for $120 back in 1990 or 89 or whatever year.
Yep.
But now you try to sell it, it's like
it's a joke. It's like that 1984 USA card with McGuire that when I was a kid and we were collecting cards, everybody tried to stockpile that card. Well, you know what? I was cleaning out a bunch of old stuff and I found 50 of them because I was just grabbing them and stocking them thinking that they were going to be worth. I checked the other day on eBay. They're not worth anything. It's worth $20 or something.
Well, here's the thing though with that, because I'm still in the car collecting and I do that. It's all about graded now. It's got to be graded. If your car's not graded, it ain't worth shit. You got to be graded, man. And it's amazing how much it props the value up. If it is graded, like
the PSA grades and stuff.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
Yep. Like I have a Gem Mint 10 PSA LeBron rookie that's literally worth $900 that I found that I didn't realize, but I was like, wow, so there are cards worth something, but you're right. Some of them guys, dude, I remember before I go to the Sixers real fast before we end this show, for some reason, the name Rick Russell just came into my head.
Why? Why is the better question?
Yeah, because Don was talking about Oakland.
Was that
I was going to say, Giants?
Was he Giants and Cubs, right?
Yeah, Rick Russell. He started an all-star game, dude. He started an all-star game, right? And look this up. I forget what year it was. He started all-star game, and he led off pitching to Bo Jackson, and he ripped the home run straight away to center field, man. Mm-hmm. Straight away to center field. It's crazy. Mike texts in, cards are back. They are. Cards are back with a vengeance right now. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. Boxer, $700 for 6 cards at one pack.
That's Gary Vaynerchuk pushed that. Once he started talking about it, and now they're saying he doesn't even mention certain cards because it just shoots the value up through the roof. He was talking about one of these Kevin Durant rookie cards. And look, again, this is not my forte, so I can't talk about. I'm only talking about what I heard from him. But apparently now, when he talks about cards, he blocks out what the card is if he's just talking about it because it's a hobby. Because everybody goes and they rush to eBay and they try to buy all the cards up, so he can actually inflate the value and manipulate the value of a card. It's just crazy because he's got such a gigantic social media following.
That is crazy.
Right.
That is crazy.
But they're back, and I saved everything from when I was a kid. I have it all. But if anybody's in the market for the 1984 Topps USA rookie card from Mark McGuire, I might know a guy. You know what I mean, Dave? I might be able to hook you
like
up.
an 87 Donruss Barry Bonds. I probably have about 3,500
Yeah,
of.
and the Don Mattingly's had a ton of those too.
Oh,
You know,
God.
like it's just funny.
Unbelievable.
Good
But you
stuff,
mentioned
though.
Kevin Durant, and let's close the show out on some Sixers talk real fast because unfortunately Andre couldn't make it tonight. He's not in. He dropped some breaking news to me through Instagram today. He's been the eyes and ears for Heat ratio when it comes to the Sixers search. But Doc Rivers gets fired from the Clippers, and Andre had a good point. He thinks that this is kind of was inevitable with the whole Donald Sterling kind of thing going on before. It was something he wanted to get out of. So, right off the bat, man, Doc Rivers, I understand he's a retread, right? But I think we've talked about this before, but he's a very, very plugged in individual. He's a guy who played the position. He's a guy I think these players would respect. Coach Dave, we're talking about this coaching search, man. We still, the word is Tyronn Lue was in to interview today. That's coming straight from my boy Andre. Coming in, he was here to interview today. Doc Rivers interviewing again this week. Mike D'Antoni's job to lose is what we keep hearing. Dave, what is your opinion of Doc Rivers as a head coach for the Philadelphia 76ers?
Well, the first thing I'll say is hopefully Tyronn Lue gets the job out in L.A., and then that way we won't have to worry about that part of it because I don't want him. I'll speak for myself.
Me neither.
I'll take Doc Rivers. Absolutely. I don't want to say that just get him in here. Doc Rivers won a championship with the Boston Celtics, right? I mean, he played the game. He's a strong-minded and he's a well-respected guy. I think he could help us, right? I think he could help these young, talented players develop into solid veteran players. I think you have Doc Rivers on your team. I also believe that you will be able to attract talent to come to your team, right? As in a free agent.
Yes, that's a good point.
Type of venue. But I would much rather have Doc Rivers than Tyronn Lue or the other guy, D'Antoni.
Mike D'Antoni. I'm not a Mike D'Antoni guy.
You get Mike D'Antoni, and you're going to have to completely change our roster.
Well, if you get Mike D'Antoni, that's a package deal. Mike D'Antoni comes, Joel Embiid goes. I mean, that's the way it works.
Tony, you got to give us some props on this. When we talked about this last week, when I said that if D'Antoni comes here, that you're going to get James Harden, right? I said that there'll be a trade.
You did. And what happened? 2 days later, the story came out.
Yeah. I don't know. Somebody's listening. I don't know if there's spyware out there. Somebody's paying attention to what we're talking about.
It must be Colangelo's burner phone must be working overdrive right now for us, man. I'll tell you, you did call it, Dave. You did. And again, you make some good points. I don't want Tyronn Lue. D'Antoni comes here, Joel Embiid goes. It's just the way it's going to go because it's not his style of offense. Doc Rivers, I'm intrigued with Doc Rivers. I really think that he could do a really good job here. I just want this organization to be fixed. And again, Mike, I know you're not a tremendous basketball guy, but just watching what we went through with this team, watching the tanking process, watching the whole, evolution. Again, we talked about the Eagles not being able to draft. The Sixers ain't been able to draft either because last time I checked, they have nobody on this team in the last few years from this process, besides obviously the inevitable of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. But you're talking a Markelle Fultz situation. You're talking a Mikal Bridges situations. Zaire Smith can't play. I mean, these have been wasted draft picks. Doc Rivers, with your basketball knowledge, are you welcoming Doc Rivers as the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers?
Well, I think he's the best option right now, and I think you got to worry about. I think you got to worry about culture. I think you got to worry about taking a fragmented locker room, a broken process. Right, that stupid word that we constantly hear. But bringing all those people together. Now, I'm not saying that Doc Rivers will be able to do that, but I believe that he's probably the best candidate available to be able to pull them in and to put some cohesiveness into that team. Because right now that team is run by Ben, I'm going to do whatever I want Simmons, and same thing with Joel Embiid, who's just an extension of Ben Simmons. I mean, honestly, two of the most talented guys in the league, but in terms of whatever else they bring to the table, like Ben Simmons just still can't he just has no confidence. And, Joel Embiid spends more time on Twitter and talking crap than anything else. So, you know what? I'm to the point where I would feel better breaking it all up and starting over, because I think even if you put Doc Rivers in there, although he may be the best candidate, I think he's going to have a lot of trouble pulling them in. I don't think it's fixable right now. And that's what I would say. And I wouldn't bring Tyronn Lue in. And again, like you said, so I'm no basketball expert, but anybody in Philadelphia only remembers one thing from Tyronn Lue. And then if they wanted to bring him back, maybe they can have like an answer night where Allen Iverson can step over him like a couple of times, because that's the only thing anybody ever remembers about the guy. I mean, why bring him in here? I mean, he may be a good coach, but he's not going to do well here. Not with the animals in Philadelphia. We'll never ever stop that. As soon as something goes wrong, that'll start, or it'll start from day one. He's not the guy for us.
No,
Doc Rivers may be. But I think it's unfixable. I just think you got to break it down. They got fleeced from Danny Ainge. They got Colangelo with full. I mean, it's just one thing after the next, because when Hinkie left, Hinkie sort of left him in a decent spot. He didn't make the best picks. He blew some picks, but he left him in a really good spot. They had good draft equity. They had good cash. They had a little bit of a foundation. They were sitting pretty with the pick. And we were thinking that it was all going to go that one way. Or even LeBron is going to come here and, he's going to be the icing on the cake. Nothing happened that was supposed to happen. And you know what? Maybe it's karma coming back for tanking and losing and, running your team into the ground. And you know what? You didn't have the right people to execute the plan, I guess. I don't know if Hinkie left too early. Who knows? But what I do know is I don't think it's fixable.
I agree. I completely agree. And you mentioned Danny Ainge fleecing us. I mean, you just look at the Celtics as an example. Did they tank? No. They drafted very, very well. They made good signings. And look at that team. Kyrie Irving leaves, Kemba Walker comes in. They don't miss a beat. Gordon Hayward goes down. Marcus Smart steps in. A drafted guy, mind you, by the Boston Celtics, who steps in with Jaylen Brown, a drafted guy, with Jason Tatum, a drafted guy. Carson Edwards, who I wanted on his team, who's going to be a hell of an NBA player as a number one point guard. Again, a guy who was drafted. So, Mike, you're right. It's not fixable unless they break it up. John, do you break this team up no matter what, no matter who the coach is?
No, I don't break it up yet. I mean, look, the poor signing was Tobias Harris, which we kind of all knew.
Yep, we all talked.
Why did we know that, John? And they didn't.
I don't even know. Pittsburgh doesn't even have a basketball team, and I knew that.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I can't tell you. But look, I'm not breaking up the team until I get another coach in here. And look, I'll take him, but to me, it's not even so much like what coach do I want what coach do I not want? Like, there are guys I'm just like, this dude cannot do the job. Like, I don't know if there's any coach that could do the job, but there's coaches that I know that can't do the job. So don't even bring him in. Bring in a guy, see if something happens in a year or two, then maybe you have to blow it up. But the Tobias Harris and the multiple after the initiation of the process started, the rest of the process really sucked. All right, it's the bottom
You're
line.
Absolutely right, and I'll tell you what.
Great start, and the rest sucked.
It did, and you know what? Tobias Harris signed. We all know Tobias Harris was signed to save face because they got rid of Jimmy Butler and they made two trades. One for Jimmy and one for Tobias. Once they knew Jimmy was gone, they couldn't let both guys they traded draft capital and players for walk. So Tobias Harris was a recipient of a bad contract because of a bad decision. And that brings me to this point, because I'm not going to mention any names, but some people on Twitter told me I am not allowed to root for Jimmy Butler. Okay, why would I want him to win? Because, the team, he didn't want to be here. First of all, let me just say something to everybody out there. Until a guy like Tim Legler comes on this show and tells me that Jimmy Butler declined to be here, I don't care. You're just a Twitter troll and got no business saying anything. Okay, until I get some credence, until I get some concrete evidence that Jimmy Butler didn't want to be here, I am believing you right now that Jimmy Butler did want to be here. year, and this organization did not want to pay him a max deal. And look what he's doing right now in Miami. He took that. Are you kidding me? Tyler Hero looks like a superstar. They're buying in. Bam is an unbelievable talent that was not able to be resurrected until Jimmy Butler there. I am 100% a Jimmy Buckets guy. I love Jimmy Butler. Do I think they're going to beat the Lakers? I'm not sure. But I'll tell you what, man. I mean, listen, the simple things, guys. He was wearing an Eric Spoelstra college jersey on Twitter, filmed at the absolute celebration. That's the kind of guy Jimmy Butler is. Say what you want, man. That was a terrible move, and I hope Jimmy wins. Am I wrong, Mike? Am I wrong for wanting Jimmy Butler to win?
No, you're not. And you brought up an interesting point. The jersey was very telling. I mean, he's a culture guy. And, you know, when people like the guy, I mean, you know, he's very well liked. And when he doesn't want to be somewhere, you see what he does, right? I mean, you've seen the extreme of Jimmy Butler, right? Yeah, I mean, he just so when he came here, you know, he started acting normal. And there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff, I think, that he obviously didn't let on. He let on a little bit about it right when he was leaving, but I don't think that guy had the culture that he was looking for. But now it seems like he's brought something to those young players, and they're all rallying around this guy, you know. And I just don't think that well, we'll never know, but the rumor is that, you know, there was just too much division in the locker room with the Sixers, and, you know, there's always drama with Simmons and Embiid and, you know, the Kardashians in the mess. It was a mess. The whole Sixers team and organization is a train wreck mess. And if I'm Doc Rivers and I'm worried, if I'm looking for a paycheck, right? Great, come get paid, whatever. If it works out, just like John said, give it a couple years and it works out. But if you're worried about legacy, I wouldn't come here, because if he thinks he's going to coach for the next 5 years, he's going to be here 2 years, he's going to get fired, because the same thing is going to happen. So go back to your point, Tone. Of course, I want him to win. It's great to see them in this position, and it's great to see all these young players rally around him. And when he said he was going to Miami, everybody laughed.
Yes,
Miami. They're not going to be good for years. Really? Mm-hmm. Well, I guess we got fleeced again.
Mm-hmm. We did. How's that Josh Richardson looking? Come on, Dave. You root for Jimmy Butler?
Absolutely.
Yes,
How can you not root for Jimmy Butler? This guy lived in the streets when he was a kid.
Yeah.
He fought for everything that he believes in. He has integrity and believes in himself, and put himself out there to call people out on when things weren't going right. That's the problem with our culture today. Like, people have a problem with you telling them the truth. Jimmy Butler is an excellent role model for how to do things the right way. Believe in yourself, work hard, and good things will happen. He had to wiggle his way through life, NBA, to get to where he's at right now. He found a culture, Pat Riley, and how do you pronounce the coach's name? I always mess it up.
Eric Spoelstra.
This is his fifth appearance in NBA Finals. Does anybody realize that?
That's crazy.
This is the head coach's fifth. I can't even say his name right. He's in the NBA Finals for a fifth time.
We used to call him a stiff. We used to it's all LeBron. It's all LeBron. Who is this guy? Like, nobody knew who he was, right? And we used to say it was all LeBron, or, you know, they got Dwayne Wade over there. They got Bosh. Yeah. I mean, and it looks like that either he learned something from them or vice versa, but he seems to be a really good coach.
So here's a little nugget here. So Eric Spoelstra was actually the tech guy for the Miami Heat. He was the guy who would take game. He was
in the films.
Yes. Yep. He would cut up game film for the team, and now he's the head coach.
That's
Check
where he
that
started.
out.
How's that for a trajectory?
Yeah. That is crazy. Wow. So somebody's seen the talent in this guy. Somebody's saying, this guy knows his stuff, man. We need to get him on a court.
Yeah, it seems like maybe he was watching film all day long, and he probably knew who the best players were.
You know who found
who
found the talent was Pat Riley.
Pat Riley.
Right? And
an
Pat
NBA
Riley,
legend.
Pat Riley also helps draft these kids like Tyler Hero and a couple and Bam. Who the hell
Jordan
knew?
Dragic.
Who knew who these guys were?
Who knew Gordon Dragic? I mean, come on, dude. I mean, think about it. It's ridiculous. And what he's been able to do is insane.
Do the Heat have a legitimate chance to beat the Lakers?
You know, that's a really tough question, and it's going to be about scheme, man. It is. The Heat are very deep. I could say that
Yeah,
they have a very deep bench, and I don't think the Lakers do.
I
But
agree.
right, that's the only thing I think the Lakers are short sighted on when it comes against the Heat. Now, one thing we have seen in the playoffs, and we've seen if you're able to limit LeBron and you're able to limit AD, then you can win games, right? I don't want to hear about Rajon Rondo. I want to hear about Kyle Kuzma.
Stop.
Okay, right. If they're going to win a championship, LeBron's winning the championship. It is simple as that. Jimmy said it right. The path goes through LeBron, just like the path went through Michael. It's the same damn thing, right? It's the same thing. This is the same thing over and over again, and it's called Dave. It's going to be tough.
So
It's a really
it'll be
tough
interesting. It'll be pretty cool because Butler will probably get a lot of time against LeBron.
Yes,
And you're going to see Bam get a lot of time against AD.
Yep.
So the matchup is very intriguing for me personally. I think that's really, really a war of attrition there.
I like that a lot.
LeBron is going to get his points, and so will AD. But I think the other two guys, they're just gritty and gutty and hard working. Not that the other two aren't, but I really do think that the Heat are going to pull this off.
I would love it. I would love every minute of it, and I will buy a Jimmy Butler jersey. I could care less. I love Jimmy Butler, and I love this way this Heat team plays because, again, this isn't about just Jimmy. It's what you just said. I mean, Tyler, you're watching Duncan Robinson? Are you kidding me? I mean, this is a true. You know what? In essence, guys, seriously, in all seriousness, we're watching what we watched in 2001 with Allen Iverson. We watched Allen Iverson take a bunch of role players and propel them up to the next level with Larry Brown as a tremendous Hall of Fame coach and be able to take them as far as they could. And they just got outclassed against Kobe and Shaq, right? So it's the same kind of story here. It really is. But I think the Heat have more of a shot than we did in 2001 because I think they're more of a complete team. And Dave, that to end on this part, before I get to John about Jimmy, you know, you said one thing which was great. You're talking about the 2-for-2 game, right, with those 4 stars. But I think after that, that's where the Heat are unique. I think they have better role players and they have better guys offensively to step in and produce than the Lakers do after their 2 superstars. So, I mean, maybe Danny Green excels because he's been in this spot before. Not sure. You know, there is a playoff Rondo everybody talks about who has taken over some games, but I still like the young grit of these players, like a Tyler Hero. I like Grogic. I like what he brings. You know, I like the Duncan Robinson. So you know, these guys, Whiteside's coming in. I mean, these guys have a lot of talent that is ready to explode. And I'll tell you what, it could be very, very interesting if Miami can pull this off. I mean, this punches the ticket for Eric Spoelstra in the Coaching Hall of Fame, in my opinion, if they're able to do this. John, you rooting for Jimmy Butler?
It's talent versus heart. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm rooting for Jimmy Butler necessarily. I mean, I think, what he's done in his career has been amazing. All right. Amazing in terms of it's like an epic story and battling your way out of a bad situation, coming to another one, trying to prove your worth, getting almost the way there, saying I won out. I mean, I don't know. Look, his lifetime, he's had a battle. I'm not questioning that. I mean, look, but when you know what you're worth and what you could deliver and what you want around you to have a winning team, I mean, he's envisioned that like a coach would, you know, throughout his career. So I would rather see him than the Dark Empire win. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a great way to end the show. That's 100% correct.
He didn't leave here with a grudge. He left here a very classy guy. I mean, he should be an enemy of Philadelphia. He should not be.
No, not an enemy. Call it what you want with the breakup. You're on the team, whether it was Philly that didn't want to pay him, he didn't want to get paid by Philly, whatever it was. No, I'm not putting any blame on Jimmy Butler. I mean, if anything, it's more on Philly, like you said. But it's kind of, you already had the Simmons and Embiid. What are you going to do? I mean, I don't know that they could have enticed him anyway. Like what could they have done? If he didn't want to be in this situation, there's nothing that they could do. He's a grown man.
Yeah, but Phillies are savages. We're savages, though, John. They leave everybody. We hate everybody that leaves us, especially when they go somewhere and they always wind up winning something.
Yes,
and that's why I know it's Heat in 7. I don't even have. I'm not even guessing. I don't care about LeBron. I don't care about anything. The only reason the Heat will win is because Jimmy Butler is on the Miami Heat because we're cursed in Philadelphia. That's why.
I like it.
That's why. And should we hate him? We should hate him. But it's hard to hate that guy.
It is. You summed it up there, Goose. Seriously, we should hate him, but it's really hard to hate Jimmy Butler. And you know what's telling too? I end on this that I think it was it wasn't Rachel Nichols. I forget who the reporter was when they asked Jimmy Butler. They talked about Minnesota. And then they completely skipped Philadelphia. She was like, "Oh, we don't want to talk about what happened in between. Let's just fast forward to Miami." That just shows our national reputation. Unbelievable.
Savages.
Fellas, this has been amazing. I really appreciate it. We went an hour and 40 minutes. We never go this long, but we had so much to talk about, especially with the Eagles. We're so much to come to the forefront, and especially with the Phillies and the Sixers as well. I would check everybody for checking in. The comments I got on Instagram and on YouTube as well, which were tremendous. Mikey Googs, man, listen, the floor, the invitation is open, man. Whenever you can be on the show, we'd love to have you. Tremendous personality, tremendous voice. Again, you've been a tremendous benefit to us tonight. John at PGA Sean Thursdays, John Coker, my co-host, as always, tremendous. Mr. Coach Dave Dixon, as always, giving us that coach's take, which is always relevant. And again, for your host, Tony Jigsaw Catillo at TCatillo23. Follow us at Heat Ratio Sports on all social platforms and the YouTube page where this will be uploaded tomorrow. And you can get us on all the iTunes, whether it be iHeart, whether it be iTunes. You get us on the Fox Sports The Gambler page, which we are a part of that family now as well. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you next week. Dave?
Peace.